Welcome back to Temporal Directive, the Star Trek fan podcast rewatching the entire franchise in chronological order. I'm Gary.
And I'm Tom.
And this week, we're watching Star Trek Enterprise's Future Tense. Star Trek, the ultimate franchise. These are the podcasts of the Wakefield brothers. Their 16-year mission to watch every production, to seek out life lessons and new inspirations, to boldly watch like most fans have watched before.
Pitching tents in the backyard?
Tense, T-E-N-S-E. Past tense. Present tense. And in this case, future tense.
Yeah, sure.
So, how you been this week, Tom? What's been happening?
Yeah, pretty good. Not much, all the same. Pretty boring person, aren't I? Just going to work and shit. Although I'm starting a new miniature. It's very exciting.
Cool.
Making a little miniature bakery.
Does it make miniature food?
Little miniature breads.
I'd like a little miniature bagel, please. It's not an easy bake oven.
No.
Okay, right. Just checking.
That would be kind of cool, though, wouldn't it? Little bit of muffins and stuff. That'd be kind of cute.
If you're 8 years old, I guess.
No, it's non-functional.
Oh dear, I haven't been doing anything either. I've been real boring.
Yeah.
I've had a real quiet week at work. I went to a workshop yesterday about community development, which was cool.
Nice.
But yeah, just kicking along.
Yeah.
Nothing exciting to report.
No, it happens, doesn't it? Sometimes, most of the time, just life. Although we did have news, didn't we, about that new show, the new movie?
New movie?
Well, the one that's coming out, the sequel to Spaceballs.
Oh. Yeah. Well, yes.
Spaceballs 2.
Yes.
What did they call it? What was it at the end of it? Spaceballs 2?
The Quest for More Money.
that was in the original, yeah.
Yeah.
So good.
I hope that's what they call it.
Yeah, it should be. It's going to be so good. Well, it's probably, who knows, but I'm looking forward to it anyway.
Same.
Yeah.
Just a couple of days ago, Paramount announced that Star Trek Strange New Worlds will be renewed for a 5th and final season.
Yeah.
And only for 6 episodes.
Right. Yeah, right.
So they're currently filming season 4.
Yeah.
And they said that season 5 will go into production later this year.
Oh, okay.
So that's not much of a break in between.
Not really.
So it sounds like they're trying to wrap it up.
Yeah.
So I imagine that it's almost back to back, right? There'll be a short break and then they'll get back into filming the last season. I'm guessing.
They still get a bigger break than they used to for a 26 episode season back in the day.
Of course.
So they can't complain.
But there's a big Paramount merger happening at the moment, so I think that means that most things are on a holding pattern. And apparently I read that Kurtzman, who's the kind of Star Trek czar at the moment, his contract is due to expire soon.
Okay.
So not knowing what's happening with Paramount
and the mergers and stuff.
The merger, maybe they're just not going to renew his contract because maybe they'll leave that up to whoever's in charge after the merger.
Yeah.
So it could just be that everything's kind of on hold.
Yeah.
And then they'll reassess.
And then we get Star Trek Legacy. Woohoo!
Fingers crossed. At the moment, so we've got Strange New World season 3 about to drop.
Yeah.
4 will probably come out next year.
Yeah.
We'll also have Starfleet Academy next year.
Mm-hmm.
And then in 2027, we'll probably get season 5 of Strange New Worlds and season 2 of Starfleet Academy. At the moment, that's the only Star Trek we've got coming.
Okay. Right. Okay.
So There's been talk of one of the
Calvin movies.
Yeah, well, that's not what I was going to say, but yes, there's been rumours of a Star Trek 4 Kelvin timeline movie. There's also been rumours and announcements about an origin film. There's also been talk from the actress from Lower Decks and the writer from Lower Decks, Tawny Newsome, who was working on a live-action comedy series. Yeah. So there's a couple of things that have been bubbling away, but there's been no announcements about them. No idea what could happen. We could be looking at Starfleet Academy and Strange New Worlds and then nothing. Yeah. We could be going into a quiet period hiatus like after Enterprise. Yeah.
Or we could be going into some new stuff.
And if we do, it probably won't be for a few years.
Yeah. What's the Origin series? What's that?
Movie. It was an Origin movie.
Right. Of Origin of what?
No idea. Okay. They didn't say.
Okay, right.
They called it an origin movie, so I have no idea. So yeah, who knows? Who knows? All I know is that we've still got, I was going to say 3 seasons of Strange New Worlds, but it's more like 2.6.
Yeah, that's
seasons of Strange New Worlds.
Not quite right, is it? Yeah.
And 2 seasons of Starfleet Academy coming, and let's just get excited about those.
Yep.
And hope something else comes out.
Yeah, well, we lived without Star Trek for a little while. Very
those dark days.
Yeah, we episodes on repeat.
I mean, I still watch the old episodes on repeat.
Yeah,
it's not like I'm rewatching Discovery every other day.
Yeah, that's it. Fuck.
All right, let's get into this week's episode.
Cool.
It is Future Tense, written by Mike Sussman and Phyllis Strong, whose names I seem to read out a lot. Directed by James Whitmore, who previously directed last season's Ferengi episode, Acquisition. This is his second and last directing job on Enterprise. The air date for this episode was February 19th, 2003. The IMDb synopsis reads, Enterprise discovers a pod with the body of a human that seems to be wanted by both Sulibans and Tholians.
With the body of a human, did you say?
Correct.
So... not a human, the body of a human.
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right.
That would imply they're dead,
Yeah,
Tom.
that's right. Seems to be funny that a body would be wanted by someone.
Well, that's right. But the Sulibans and both the Sulibans and the Tholians want the body, so I guess we'll have to wait and see what they want it for.
Wow, we'll find out.
All right. Let's go watch it.
Righto.
And we're back from watching Future Tense. Well, Tom, what did you think?
Yeah, it was pretty good, actually.
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
Yeah, it was good. It was just enough pace and everything to it. Bit of on the edge of your seat sort of stuff. Like for Enterprise, anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. Some notes. This is the first reappearance of the Tholians since the original series episode in 1968.
Oh, okay.
So a big gap between 1968 and 2003.
Absolutely.
But this episode canonically established that Tholians live in an extremely hot environment.
Yeah.
Up until then, it was a popular fan theory based on the fact that the view screen showing the Tholians in the Tholian web in 68 seemed to ripple, possibly from heat.
Yeah, okay.
So, because the writer of this episode liked that idea, they included it in the episode and made it
a canon.
Canonically accurate theory.
Wow. That's cool.
And another link to the original series, Archer speculates in this episode that the body could be Zephram Cochrane, of course.
Yes.
But we know that it's not, because in the future, Captain Kirk will find Zephram Cochrane on a planet living with a non-corporeal life form.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that when we get to the original series.
Yeah. I did say that, didn't I? While we were watching it, I went, no, he's still alive on a planet.
Yep.
Kirk will find him.
Yep. So yeah, those are our links to the rest of the franchise from this episode.
Yeah, nice.
All right, let's get into the episode, shall we?
All right.
We open on the bridge, and on the view screen is some sort of like object. We don't really know what it is at this point.
Yeah.
Drifting around in space, and Archer asks if there's any biosigns, and T'Pol says that we can't tell. It seems to be scattering the sensors. And so Archer says, bring it on board.
Yeah.
We don't know what
safe.
it is. Could be anything.
Yeah.
Bring it up.
Yeah.
Put it on the ship.
Yeah. No
Doesn't matter.
decontamination. No, nothing. Just whack it in the cargo bay.
Chuck it in. She'll
Yeah.
be right. And we cut to Launch Bay 2 where the vessel has been brought on board. And Reed observes that there's no windows. So he doesn't know which end of the ship is the bow or the stern.
No.
Who cares?
That's it. That's it. And they're just walking around it again. No one knows what the fuck it is.
Nope.
Let's just walk around, see what happens.
Nope. So Paul finds a spot that might be a hatch that has been fused shut. And so Reed asks permission to use a phaser to cut it open, which they do. And Archer jumps inside and finds a desiccated occupant.
Desiccated occupant.
Yes, desiccated occupant.
Sorry, it's just very official.
Sorry, dried up old
That's it, that's better.
T'Pol scans and says that he's human. And then we skip the credits.
Yes, you were slow on that, Mark, too. I had to listen to 2 lines of the
You
song.
poor thing.
Very frustrated.
Poor thing. We cut to sick bay. Phlox is doing a scan and says that apparently says this was a human male and that he's going to find the time of death. But apparently you're not the first humans out this far. Archer wants to get a DNA sample because he thinks it might be Zephram Cochrane.
He goes through the whole story about him being lost in a single man vessel and yada yada.
And there were rumours.
Yeah, it could have been a warp
no one
vessel
knows.
and how far it could have got and all that shit. Yada yada yada.
Yep. But they're going to take a tissue sample and run it through the genetic profile database and see if they can find a comparison.
Yeah.
There we go. We cut back to the launch bay. Reed says that the hull of the ship seems to absorb EM radiation, which means without all that damage, it would be invisible to sensors, which Trip says must be some sort of stealth ship.
No shit.
No wonder he's the engineer. He's so smart. Then they say that it might be a cargo hauler. Then they talk about how far away that is from the trade route and doesn't make much sense.
And it's tiny.
And it's tiny. I don't know what your cargo
What
hauling.
that's it. You're hauling nothing.
Yeah.
It's like,
Maybe it's like Postman Pat of the future.
That's great.
Yeah. It's just like a
Just little
like a-
envelopes. Yeah.
UPS. Sorry, that was very American, wasn't it? Let me try
It
that
was.
again. Parcel, Australia Post.
Yeah. In Australia, we can just leave stuff on our porch and it doesn't get stolen.
I know. It's so weird.
Yeah, who would have thunk that we have the respect for other people's mail and shit?
Unbelievable. Sometimes I forget to lock my door.
I know, it's unreal, isn't it?
Then they speculate it might be an escape pod. And Trip says even an escape pod would need some sort of propulsion system,
Which,
which I guess maybe probably.
possibly,
but,
but
you know.
it makes more sense than anything else. Because, I
Yes.
mean, an escape pod that has some sort of cloaking device as well makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
It's small, can only fit like 1 or 2 people, shoot out, and then you can't be seen by the enemy that
Correct.
you've just escaped. It makes sense to me.
Makes
I
sense
like
to me too. We cut to the captain's ready room, and Archer is talking to Admiral Forrest back on Earth about the discovery. Archer says that Dr. Phlox has sent a request to Dr. Cochrane's family for his genetic profile.
Clearly, he's got a family.
Yeah.
Like,
When did that happen?
yeah. Well, I don't remember much about him having a family or a history of that, but he did want all the women and money, so clearly he got the women.
Unless he had siblings.
Yeah, okay. I don't know. Would he have had siblings? He might have had siblings, but they weren't anywhere around him that we were told about.
That doesn't mean that we that they didn't exist.
True.
I never tell anyone about you.
Thanks.
We cut to the launch bay. We're inside the ship with Trip and Reed, and they're removing a floor plate, and there's like a blue hubcap
Yeah, that's what it looked like, isn't it? It looked pretty much
that's
just
been
like
locked
that.
into place.
Yeah.
Reed says that it registers on the scanner as some sort of biomatter, so they determine that it's organic circuitry. Voyager.
Yeah.
So they remove the hubcap.
Part, yeah.
And they find like this hatch underneath, and they unlock
Open it
it
up.
and they remove it, and then they shine their torches in, and it's a huge ladder that goes down into the darkness.
Yeah. And we discover that it is the TARDIS.
It is the TARDIS.
Yeah.
Hence the blue.
Yeah, that's right. It had the blue TARDIS colour, and it was big. It was bigger on the inside.
So just like in Doctor Who,
Yep.
they say, how can a ship be bigger on the inside than the outside?
Yeah. Love it.
Trip heads down the rabbit hole inside the TARDIS to see what's down there.
Yeah, as you would. Why
would.
would you not want to explore a TARDIS?
Well, Reed picks up some sort of energy signature that's very faint, so they go to investigate that as we cut to the bridge. And Travis says that there is a vessel dropping out of warp and they're on an intercept course. And T'Pol says it's a Suliban vessel. Bum, bum, bum. The Suliban guy says, we have a salvage claim on the vessel in your launch bay. One of our cell ships discovered it 3 days ago. We were sent to retrieve it.
That's a human vessel. Jeez.
I'm not interested in the corpse. Decompress your launch bay and release the vessel. And Archer says, what's your interest in this ship? There's not much of it left. The vessel! Now! And the view screen cuts out and they charge their weapons. Then we cut to inside the TARDIS. That's
Yep.
what I'm calling it
Yeah,
from now on.
absolutely. So you should.
And Trip and Reed are trying to figure out some contraption hatch thing on the
Yeah.
wall. And Trip says, this could be a release pin. He presses a button or flicks something, and then
yeah.
there's a box that he can grab, and he goes, let's take it to engineering,
Yeah.
and runs away.
Yeah, that's it. I just want this part.
And then we cut to the bridge, and the Suliban are shooting. Archer says to shoot back.
Yeah, that's
But
it. Go for their weapons.
That's it. Yep. We go back to the launch
That's it.
bay.
Launch bay.
There are Suliban operatives that are badly CG'd that come out of nowhere because they're cloaked, and they attack Trip and Reed to try to get the box or to get into the control room.
To open the shuttle bay doors.
Yep. So they go. One of them goes up to the control room of the launch bay, and we cut back to the bridge. And Hoshi says someone's trying to open launch bay 2. Archer tries to get them to stop. They send down a security team to the launch bay, and they keep firing at the Suliban ships.
They're shooty.
They keep shooting, and then they disable the Suliban ship's weapons, and they start to move away. That's when the Suliban officers are beamed away. We get a captain's log saying that they've contacted a Vulcan ship, the Talkia, and they're going to meet the Enterprise in 3 days to take the TARDIS back to Earth.
Yep.
And that hopefully we don't have any more visits from the Suliban before we reach the rendezvous point.
Because sure, they're going to give up that easily.
It's called foreshadowing. We cut to engineering. Trip is playing with the box from the TARDIS and says that it might be a black box, but they have no idea what it actually is. So they're going to try to get it working. Phlox calls down to Archer and says that he needs to see him immediately. So Archer and T'Pol leave, and Reed and Trip keep working on the box. So we cut to sickbay. Phlox is saying that he's only managed to find a few undamaged cells, but it was enough to create a genetic analysis, that there was no match in the database, but there was Vulcan DNA, as well as human, as well as other species.
Yeah. It's a whole lot.
A whole lot. And says he believes that this individual is a result of several generations of interspecies breeding. Which they are like, how can that happen? How does that happen?
That's when Archer's
Archer
like,
and...
hang on a minute.
Yeah.
Could be from the future.
Yes. So Archer and T'Pol go down to Daniel's quarters
Yeah.
to get the future database that Daniel's left. So they get in, they open up the holographic database projector thing, and they start looking for anything to do with the TARDIS ship that they found.
Yeah.
And they talk amongst... The two of them talk about how it would be difficult for humans and Vulcans to have children. Archer says, I wonder if a human and a Vulcan did have a baby, I wonder if it would have pointed ears. They scroll through the holographic database and they eventually find the ship in the database, the TARDIS ship. And it says that the commission date is almost 900 years from now.
Yeah.
So very much in the future. He says that Daniel's told him about historians from the future who would travel back in time to study the past, and maybe that's what this pilot was doing, which makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Considering how it was a stealth ship, invisible to sensors.
Yeah. It was
You
basic.
could stay out of the way while you were watching whatever was happening.
Yeah, that's right. It was nice and simple.
Makes sense.
Yeah. That'd be a good job, wouldn't it?
It'd be fun.
Yeah, it would be great.
Yeah.
Go back and look at all these historical events and stuff.
Yeah.
I would enjoy that.
Where would you go?
Anything, really.
Where would be the first place you would go?
Well, I would go back to the Jurassic era and have a look at that first.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be the first place I'd go. Just out of interest sake, watching the dinosaurs walk around and stuff, like get that first-hand visuals. That'd be the first place.
Okay.
And then, I don't know, probably some Roman stuff. Check out what the Romans were like. There'd be a lot of stuff that'd be interesting.
While they're in Daniel's quarters, Travis hails them from the bridge and says that there's an alien vessel approaching at high warp. Archer asks if it's Suliban, and he says, no, we can't identify them. We cut to an external shot of a Tholian ship approaching the Enterprise. And then we cut into the bridge. Paul identifies the ship as a Tholian vessel and says that they're extremely xenophobic and that the High Command has had limited contact with them, and that it's unusual for Tholians to travel this far away from their own system.
Yeah.
Reed says that it's fucking hot inside their ship, around 200 degrees.
Yeah.
I assume Celsius.
Yeah, I was going to say Fahrenheit or Celsius.
I assume Celsius because they do Celsius in meters, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah. T'Pol says that the Vulcans have always believed that they're a non-humanoid species. So obviously they've never seen them.
Yeah.
Archer tries to establish communication with them, and they've got an awful sounding voice.
Yeah.
But they must have their own translating device to talk to the humans. And they say that they were sent to retrieve the vessel because of the temporal radiation, that it's dangerous to the humans.
Yeah, sure.
They lock on to Enterprise with a tractor beam.
Archer makes the stupidest threat ever.
Yeah, Archer says, if you don't release us, I'm going to destroy the ship in our launch bay. Do you hear me?
I'll destroy it. No, you won't. Like, you're just not going to.
But they must listen because they release the ship.
Yeah.
And then they send a last message that was not translated and fly away. And Archer says, what did he say? No, she says, I don't know, but I don't think he was paying you a compliment. We cut to the mess hall, and T'Pol is in there eating dinner by herself, and Fox comes in and asks to join her. And he says that he's found another nucleotide sequence in the pilot's genome, and it appears to be Rigelian. And that the corpse is full of surprises.
Yeah.
He's trying to have a chat, but she's just like reading her pad and not really into it.
Not having it.
No. But they talk about how Archer believes that the vessel has travelled from the future, and that there seems to be a lot of evidence mounting to say that that's accurate. Genetic anomalies, unexplainable alloys that are in a semi-fluidic state. And so the Vulcan Science Directorate might have to review their opinion of time travel. And T'Pol says it's not an opinion. It's simple logic. And then Phlox talks about how the Denobulans believed they were the only intelligent species in the galaxy until an alien race made first contact with them, and then we had to reevaluate our beliefs.
Yeah.
Of course.
Well, yeah.
So she says, are you saying you believe time travel is possible? And he says, surprises, Sub-Commander. I believe in embracing surprises. Which I like. I thought that was good.
Yeah.
And she said, I prefer to embrace logic. Excuse me, Doctor.
Right.
She does not like to embrace surprises.
No.
She likes to embrace logic. And that is all.
Even if it defies, common
The
sense.
evidence in front of her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Logically, this is not happening.
Yep. Logically, this cannot occur, so therefore it is not happening.
Yeah. That's it. It is not happening.
Sure. Sure. Turn a blind eye to the facts. We cut to engineering. Trip and Reed are still trying to figure out this black box or whatever the fuck it is. And this is where I said to you while we were watching it, what the fuck is Reed doing here? Reed is a tactical officer. Shouldn't there be another engineer?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I just don't understand.
Yeah. Engineer, science officer, someone. But not Reed.
Not Reed.
Like I said, like I responded to you, I never saw Worf down there helping Geordie in the Next Gen series.
No.
It just doesn't make sense to have the
No.
fucking security officer helping out.
That's right.
Like, he's got a whole engineer crew.
A whole team of engineers.
Yeah.
Like,
They're running around as well, like next to him.
ridiculous. Anyway, then they talk about time travel and if they would visit anywhere or go to the future and find out what happens. Whatever.
Yeah.
They decide they need to go to salvage some circuits from the TARDIS in the launch bay, so they head down there. When they get in there, they continue their conversation about wanting to go to the past, and as they walk in, Trip says, now if I had a chance to go to the past, I'd jump at it. I've always wanted to meet a Stegosaurus. And Reed says, he'd probably make a quick meal of you. Trip says, the Stegosaurus was a herbivore. And then Reed says, if I could travel back in time, I know exactly what year I'd pick, 1588. And anyway, so they talk about that. Then they pull a plate off the TARDIS exterior, and then they're walking into the bay again. Now, if I had a chance to see the past, I'd jump at it. I always wanted to meet a Stegosaurus. He'd probably make a quick meal out of you. So they do that, and they
look at each other a bit like
what just happened? But
didn't we just say that?
I think maybe we're just spending too much time together.
Yeah.
And then they pull the plate off the TARDIS again, and they walk back in. But this time they realised, Trip says, now if I had a chance to go to the past, I'd jump at it. And then Reed says, I always wanted to meet a Stegosaurus before Trip could finish his sentence.
Yeah.
So they're in a time loop. This happens at least 3 times. And I guess canonically, this is the first time that a human has experienced a time loop, even though we have seen it happen in Star Trek many, many, many times.
Yes, a lot.
This would be, chronologically, this would be the first human experience of a time loop.
Yep.
Yep. And they don't seem that worried about it.
No, they weren't panicked at all. It's just like, well, that was odd.
They just go to the bridge and tell Phlox and the captain what happened, and that's it.
Yeah, Phlox does a little scan, doesn't he?
Yeah, and says that they're fine. Yeah.
You're all good.
You're all good. That's right.
They scan the shuttle bay too, don't they? And
T'Pol is scanning the launch bay.
Yeah.
And says that there is some sort of high energy particles coming off the ship.
Heck yeah.
And it could be the temporal radiation that the Tholians were talking about that was dangerous. So I guess the Tholians were right. Maybe you should have fucking listened to them.
Yeah, maybe you should have just blown the fucking thing up straight away when you realised it was a time vessel that you shouldn't have.
Exactly.
Maybe that was a good idea.
Exactly. Archer orders them to keep working on the black box.
Batten down the hatches around the shuttle bay. Even
Exactly.
But it's not a shuttle bay.
Correct.
Because you keep correcting.
It's a launch bay.
That's the one.
And then T'Pol's asked to speak to the captain in private. So they head to the ready room. And she says that we should destroy the ship.
Good idea.
Great idea. And he says, no. I'm not going to do that. There is a temporal Cold War happening and we should get involved.
That's right. I am Captain Archer and I shall do what I shall do.
Exactly. T'Pol tries to talk him out of it because of the unnecessary danger that it will put Enterprise in. And he says, "This is the first chance we've had to get answers. I'm not going to pass it up."
That's right. He wants to be part of this temporal war. He doesn't want to be left out on the sidelines.
No, that's right.
It's about him, damn it.
T'Pol recommends that they go to tactical alert because chances are the Suliban are going to show up and they're probably going to be cloaked. And so we should be at tactical alert at all times because we're probably about to get attacked.
That's it.
We're not going to destroy the ship. We are a target.
Yeah, absolutely.
We cut to engineering, and Archer asks Trip what's going on, how the black box thing is coming along, and he says that they thought it was a data storage matrix, but it's actually a microtransmitter that's generating a subspace signature, some sort of emergency beacon.
Yeah.
T'Pol calls down from the bridge to the captain to say that there are several Suliban vessels approaching. And what she doesn't say is, "I fucking told you so."
Yeah, that's right.
Fucking should have listened.
Leaves that out. It's just in the end of the tone. Captain.
We cut to the bridge as Archer arrives. T'Pol says the ships will be within weapons range in 20 seconds. He says go to maximum warp. They match the speed. They're 3 minutes away from the Vulcan ship. The
Can't get 'em
Sullivan
on
hail. Yeah, the Sullivan hail Enterprise. And Archer says, "I see you brought some friends with you." They demand that the Enterprise drop out of warp and prepare to be boarded. Instead, they go into a shooty.
Yep.
So they shoot, and shoot. But the Sullivan are trying to shoot out the launch bay doors to get the ship to fall out. Yeah. They're arriving to the Vulcan ship, and Archer drops out of warp, and we see the Vulcan ship, and it does not look good.
No, it is fucked.
There is some debris around it. It's clearly been attacked and it's damaged and shit. Archer asks if there's biosigns. T'Pol says the crew's alive, but the vessel is disabled, and their comms down. So just then, the Tholians arrived. They've clearly been the ones that have attacked the Vulcan ship, waiting for Enterprise to get there.
Yeah, they knew where they were going.
So now the Tholians start shooting on Enterprise. Then the Sulliban show up, and the Sulliban and the Tholians begin fighting each other.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Enterprise has some time to have a breath.
Yeah.
Archer calls down to engineering and asks how long until we can get warp drive back. And Trip says it's going to take a few hours. The weapons are also going to take a while because everything's been scrambled. So Archer says, forget everything else, get that beacon working.
Yeah, that's it.
Whoever built that ship might be able to send help.
Yeah.
And T'Pol says, even if you're correct, it's unlikely help will arrive in time. She just doesn't get it, does she?
No, she does not.
I don't think anyone gets it.
No.
How is Archer the smartest person on this ship?
I don't know. He's a fucking moron, generally. It's ridiculous.
Whoa.
Well, he is.
Sometimes. But he seems to be the only one that actually understands how this time stuff works.
Well, I suppose he's the only one that's sort of been through it.
I guess.
Like, he was taken through time and stuff, so he might understand that a little bit better, I suppose. But, I mean, you know, we get it.
It's not hard to understand.
That's it. We get it. We haven't been taken through time that we're aware
If it's a time ship and there's a beacon...
Yeah, they're going to be able to go back and do whatever they want to do at any point.
Instant that the fucking beacon was activated.
Yeah, that's right.
It's clearly a time beacon. Sigh. Anyway, Archer asks how long it would take to remove a torpedo warhead so that they could put it into the time ship. And Reed says maybe 4 minutes, less if I had some help. So Archer and Reed head down to the launch bay to do that. And T'Pol takes command of the bridge. So we get to the launch bay. Archer and Reed pull something off the warhead, and they say, I'm going to hold it at that 4 minutes. And Reed says, it was only an estimate, sir. And then they go through the process of disconnecting the warhead and whatever else.
Yeah. There's more shitty on the bridge.
More shitty on the bridge, you are correct. And the Sulliban have lost half their ships. So the Tholians are clearly the dominant species here.
Yeah. Their technology is far more superior.
T'Pol calls down to Archer to say that they've lost half their ships and we don't have much time left. And Archer says we're working as fast as we can. Just as they remove the warhead, time loops again.
Yeah.
And Archer says, I'm going to hold you to that 4 minutes. It was only an estimate, sir. But they realize immediately that they've had that conversation before. So they say, how far do you think we got last time? And so they try to rush. They try to speed
it up.
Yep. We cut to the bridge, and all of the cell ships have been destroyed. All of the Suliban ships have been destroyed, and the Tholians are on an intercept course to Enterprise. They hail and say, give us the vessel. And T'Pol tries to stall them a little bit and says, we're prepared to give it to you, but we need some time to fix our doors.
Yeah, that's it. We took heavy damage. Like, you know, we're doing our best.
So the Tholians lock onto their docking ports because they're coming on board. T'Pol sends down some security teams and tells everyone to seal the hatches. We cut back to the launch bay. Archer grabs the warhead out of the torpedo and places it just inside the TARDIS ship, and then time loops back again. And I'm going to hold you to that 4 minutes. It was only an estimate, sir. They're like, shit, all right. We need to do this very, very much faster.
Yeah, let's go.
Quick.
We should be experts now. Go.
Exactly. But time is not repeating on the outside of that launch bay because we see in the corridor the security teams taking up their positions as the Tholians start to cut through the hatches. Then we cut back to the launch bay. Archer puts the warhead inside the TARDIS. Reed goes up to the launch bay control room while he does that. And then Archer runs up just after he dumps the warhead in and tells Reed to open the doors and let the ship out. Yeah. So he does that and then says, now! And Reed says, I'd recommend putting more distance between us and that ship. No!
Just hit the fucking button. And in that split second that he hesitated, they disabled it.
Correct. T'Pol says they've neutralized the warhead.
Yeah.
Dang it!
If only had to hit the button 1 second earlier.
Exactly. But in engineering, we see that the transmitter beacon thing beeps and then disappears. Then we have a shot in sickbay of the dead body they found inside the TARDIS disappearing. And then we see the Tholian ship that was towing the TARDIS. Yeah. The TARDIS disappears.
Yeah, it all disappeared very Borg-like.
That's still just a transporter.
Yeah,
so
I know.
That's fine.
I know. It just looks pretty.
It wasn't glittery like the transporters we're used to.
Yeah.
We cut to the bridge and Travis says that the ship has gone, it's been dematerialized, but it's not on board the Tholian ships, and that the Tholians are disengaging, so they warp off and away. And they check in on the Vulcans to see if they can give them a hand. We get a captain's log supplemental while we look at the Vulcan ship in the debris field.
Yeah.
And they just say that there is a Vulcan transport en route to tow the Talkia home, and that there were no casualties, and there are no signs of Tholians or Suliban anywhere near them. We cut to the captain's mess. Trip, T'Pol and Archer, as always, are having dinner or breakfast. I don't know. I wasn't paying attention to what food they were eating. But Trip says he wishes he had more time to explore the TARDIS, because who knows how many other rooms were down there. Trip talks about how surprising it was that everything disappeared so quickly. The beacon was online for less than a minute. And then Archer has to explain to them how time travel works, and that they had as much time as they like to organize, to plan how they're going to retrieve all their information.
that was way too Kirk-like.
And then Trip leaves to go and finish repairs on the engine, and Archer says that he's going to contact High Command to apologize for the trouble, and T'Pol says that a ship can be replaced. I don't think it'll matter, or something. And Archer says, I also need to thank them for helping us out. And T'Pol says, I'm sure that would be appreciated. They've asked me to prepare a report on the incident with your permission. And Archer says, by all means. I wonder if they'll believe that humans and Vulcans will be swapping chromosomes one day. And T'Pol says, they're more likely to believe in time travel. as the episode ends. The end.
Yeah.
Well, now we talk through it, Tom. What did you think?
It's good. It is a really good episode. Like, there was enough going on. I mean, reading back, it's a bit like any sort of action-packed episode, because it was a bit more action-packed. It's a bit boring reading it back.
Yeah. No, that's fair. Yeah.
But the actual episode to watch is enjoyable.
It was a pretty good episode to watch.
Yeah, it was. It was fun. It was a good one. And everyone's interactions and stuff. Like, you know I always sort of, not always, but I know I often bag the crew and the people. But they do a good job every now and then with these sort of episodes.
Where there's not much to it.
Yeah, where it's
Not
more
much
action.
for them to do.
Yeah, they just have to say 3 lines and they can pull that off.
Wow. Wow. Okay. And the life lesson for this one?
It's a very good question. Let sleeping dogs lie. The future war is the dog. The time war shit. It's not your fucking business. Just leave it be. I don't know. Curiosity killed the cat, that kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, you know, you would just sort of,
Sure.
you know, like he could have left it, couldn't he? Like, he could have blown up the ship. He could have just, I mean, I know you're out there to explore, and I mean, of course, bring it in, have a look at it, and all that kind of stuff. But there was a point where you were putting your ship at risk and all that kind of stuff for something that you probably knew was probably too far. So, you know, there is a line. The line must be drawn here, this far, no further.
All right. We'll go with that. IMDb rating. Examples of 1 episodes of Voyager's Threshold and Next Gen's Code of Honor. Examples of 10 episodes of Next Gen's Tapestry and Deep Space Nine's Far Beyond the Stars. What do you want to rate Future Tense?
I'd go reasonably high. What'd we do?
I would go pretty medium.
So probably then,
Because while it was kind of funnish,
yeah,
it didn't really
wasn't no
have
depth.
much to it.
Yeah. Yeah, well, there
Actually-
wasn't anything to it either. Like, it didn't add much to...
No, to anything.
No, and we haven't had any time stuff to really get your teeth into either to,
No,
like, really
and
make
this
that...
didn't add anything to
That's
that.
it, to make that
Cold
worth
War.
anything. Like, so, yeah, I get that. So, probably about a 5 then. We'll go right and smack bang in the middle.
I'm okay with a 5.
Yeah.
5 it is. All right. Good job, Future Tense. Great. Well, if you want to tell us what you thought of Future Tense or just Star Trek in general, you can find us on Facebook at Temporal Directive Podcast and on Instagram, just Temporal Directive. Or you can email us at wakefield_productions@outlook.com. We'd love to hear from you, so please drop us a line. We'll be back next week with the episode Kanama. Live long and prosper.
Peace and long life.